Hey guys, so here we go. Same brush as yesterday. Everything else is different. And I'm going to quickly get this back in. Earlier today I thought, about an hour ago, I thought, you know what, I should put this in the water to see if a longer soak somehow gives me a better experience with it. Then I forgot. But I do have it soaking now for longer than I did yesterday. And so at least there's that. All right, let's look at the other parts of the gear. I'm continuing with the Declaration Grooming sample pack that I obtained recently. And I am very glad to have purchased that, given the opportunity to purchase that. Just a layman, a shaving layman, bought up, gathered up the tubs, and did this all himself. Bought the little containers and then provided them basically at cost so that people could experience these, and so often they disappear quickly and then nobody knows how they smell. So this is Epiphenomenon, and it is a scent that we'll talk about more, but it's a barbershop. So we'll start with just saying that. From Declaration Grooming in the Milksteak base. It's supposed to be powdery, and that it is. It's supposed to be softly masculine and powdery. And it might actually be achieving that, at least in terms of dry smelling from the puck here. I'm going to get my 1/4 teaspoon here and hook out what I need. And that's good to use this kind of measurement because that way I can get the most out of this sample. I don't know that my nose would have been trained enough without the suggestion of softly masculine and powdery, because the powdery, a part of it is not something that I normally kind of have on my radar. I'm going to use this Gillette Black, 7 o'clock black, and it's also called the Super Platinum. I don't know why I don't use this blade more, because I can remember so many good shaves from it in different razors, and so I need to really bring it in more in my rotation. This one has about 14 shaves on it. It's got the wax paper on the inside, as makers have to keep cutting their costs with the global pandemic and just suckiness of the economies and things like that. I can see how these wax paper inserts are starting to not be around anymore. Fortunately, I bought a ton of blades a couple of years ago, and so I may not need any blades until I die. But this is the marking that I put on it, because this is what I'm going to eventually make into a marathon blade. I'm just going to keep using it. I'm going to keep it around. And then the aristocrat style handle, is it WR2, I think, Wolfman. And then and I believe this is the hollowed out one that I have. And then this is the WR1 head, and it's the 46 gap. And so I'm looking forward for this very mild gap, uncommon gap. Looking forward to experiencing this, what usually feels like a very sharp and capable razor blade. Looking forward to trying it out in this mild head. Just slowly tightening everything up, just to make sure that the blade is always sitting in the right place, and I'm not going to snap it as I tighten it when it's improperly aligned. All right, very good. And then I told you about the B9A brush that we put in the water. This That Darn Rob handle, which is gorgeous, and the B9A knot in 24mm. I was hoping that size would allow there not to be as much by changing the size to something smaller than my 28mm. I was hoping it would have less backbone, but it still may have too much. But we're going to keep using it and see if it changes. All right, so the razor's ready to go. Let me get my face wet. With my face splashed with water, I now start to hoke out of the scoop and into the bowl, spreading it out. It really is the consistency of a cream. You can definitely see it as a cream. So instead of doing this completely off camera, I thought this is a good time to talk about the story behind the name Epiphenomenon, which Scott, the Declaration Grooming maker, says means, and I'm sure he's right, a byproduct or a secondary result. And that's because he was working on another scent. And this one kind of fell into his lap. It was just as he was trying to create something, all of a sudden he realized that this was a barbershop scent that he actually liked. It fit his concept of a barbershop scent. And he, in his description of this very scent, talks about how the barbershop genre is a really weird one in the wet shaving world, because it's, in his words, ill-defined, and meaning there just aren't, the parameters for it just aren't there. And so there are some things that you can really sample a lot of people's barbershops, and then your nose, you can tell how they are similar, but there are no hard and fast rules, and so it's tough. It's almost like everybody gets their interpretation of a barbershop and they say it's a barbershop. I've definitely experienced English barbershops that are more flowery and feminine than some of the American barbershops that are not trying to imitate that genre. Have a slightly different experience with them. And those are a couple of broad categories. So let's see what we get from this one. You can tell there's some floral notes in there, but you can also tell there's some warm, maybe not musky, almost a hint of vanilla. So he called this one a word that means byproduct, because since he was working on something else, and then all of a sudden he realized that this would be a good barbershop scent that met his needs, then he went ahead and created it and made it into a full tilt soap and scent and all that stuff. And so his words to describe it were softly masculine and powdery. So let's see what we get today. Shaking the water out of my brush here, most of it. Leave a little bit, and we'll just start working it. Well, I got a little dot in my eye right there. Brush just flicked it up in just exactly the right way. So if you hydrate it enough, I actually like the Milksteak base quite a bit. I think I had a few shaves where I did not. And you can take it a good bit with adding water to it. It's not like some of the other new bases where you have to run them a little drier than you normally do, than I normally do. Yeah, something is definitely coming up to me. The powderiness, the light floral. It does smell softly masculine. I was just, okay, if I think hard enough, it was on a forum, and it wasn't on Reddit, answering somebody's question about barbershops, and they were actually looking for a powdery barbershop. Well, I think I might be able to recommend this one to them. So that's 2 teaspoons now in the lather. Let's tilt you down because this view is more important at this stage. Starts out looking like I don't have enough soap in the bowl, but based on my past uses, I just knew it would be fine, and I just kept mixing. And there's almost some citrus, lime, lemon, something like that, some kind of citrus component to it as well. It's a good looking lather. Still not quite done adding water, but it looks really good right there. It's a joy to the eyes. And I went ahead and added 1 whole teaspoon, and that might put it exactly where I need it. I don't think I have over watered it. It's looking, see, it looks just fine. Is it moving in the bowl there? I don't think so. Thought I saw it slowly sliding down. Yeah, this is terrific. I love how I can add water. I think I had some adventures with Milksteak with the Tatara razors, and I think them, the way they are constructed, and perhaps I wasn't adding quite enough water to my Milksteak. I experienced some drag, and I kind of mentally blamed it on the Milksteak, and I don't think that was justified. Now I may still like Icarus a little better, and Bison a little better in the Declaration Grooming brand. Yeah, I really think it really does seem like a citrus, a bright citrus. But it's not bright in an irritating way or some kind of shocking way. It's a hint there, and it's giving life and freshness to it, keeping it from being feminine. A little powdery, almost a little dusty as well. I don't think this is one that I would want to, you know, go ahead and order a full tub of. But this might be a very enjoyable barbershop style. All right, let me get my face wet again. Okay. And hey, I think it's appropriate that I just happened to choose Epiphenomenon from the 4 different Declaration Grooming samples that I have left to evaluate and try for the first time, because the splash I chose today, the aftershave, is this glass, really cool bottle of vintage skin bracer, and a barbershop definitely fits along with that story. So, with a freshly damp face, let's see how this brush does today. Now, this is a common issue. Look at what we've got, pretty thin, but thicker on the edges, and the brush is the same way. Look, it's kind of all out of the middle. And this is a very common issue with the dense Badger brushes, because they just can't hold as much soap in the middle because there's not as much room between the bristles. It's another reason I like many of the high mountain whites, the silver tips, those guys, because they have plenty of room, because they're not this dense. But here's what you do. Just switch to painting, like that. Switch back and forth, and then whenever you get some lather around your brush, you bring that in. And so you have to, since the brush doesn't really rotate the lather for you like the less dense brushes automatically do, you just have to kind of do it yourself. And if you haven't spent enough time in the bowl, assuming you want to achieve a good mix, a consistent mix before you actually start shaving, then you can know if you've done that because something changes. Something won't change when you're putting on your first pass here. If I am doing what I've been doing and lather just starts building up all around the edges, then that means that I had more soap in my brush and I didn't give it enough time in the bowl to interact and be exposed to and mix with the water that was in the bowl. And so this had a higher soap ratio than this. However, if it's the other way around, where the lather kind of dies, then it could be, number one, you might have oily skin like me that breaks down the lather. And the simple solution is just to go back in here and get some more. Or it could be that you didn't load enough product, or you had some water in your brush that you never quite stirred up enough into the lather. And so your bowl is what really had the suds, and your brush had the water in it. And then as you were working it, all of a sudden you're starting to flush the water out of your brush. And then it starts to kind of look like it's disappearing from your face. Yeah, it's still not very easy to keep this display in this brush. But like I said, you need to give it some use to see what happens with it. And see that first bit of lather? I firmly believe that my skin just kind of killed it. Just like if you've got some greasy dishes, you put a little soap in there, and it's not enough soap to really kill the grease. But then you finally add enough soap, and then if you add any more after that, then it looks really sudsy. So that's kind of what happened. Now it looks great. All right. Let's try this 46, a mild and smooth head often. We're looking at a 24 hours of growth, so that's good. Something a little more normal. I am feeling it move through the hairs, so this is not a super smooth combo. You can kind of hear it. It's not a young blade. Oh yeah, I showed it to you. So I got 15 uses or 14. feel like there's some, blade being exposed. But I don't feel in any danger at all. As long as I maintain reasonably proper technique, I'm confident I'm not going to give myself any problems. Rinse. Here's a little something encouraging. I just got word via YouTube comments on one of my videos that there was a wet shaver out there who been shaving for 7 years and has had really big problems with irritation. Some of the soaps and stuff were just really irritating his skin, and I'm assuming he had to, really restrict the soaps that he was able to use, or just having to deal with the irritation, right? And then he switched to bowl lathering and using kind of the method I usually show, which is really focusing on a really well hydrated lather, just really well hydrated. A lot of water. And because my theory has always been that if some soaps are just going to irritate your skin because of either like maybe the cinnamon that might be in them, or lanolin, or allergies, or just the harshness of it being a soap. And if you overload your soap like some guys do, then, and you happen to be one of those people that might be susceptible to that, then that's a bad combination. And apparently this, I'm sorry, I forgot his name. I replied back to him. I was very grateful for his encouragement. And I really like to see when people get help and with what they need. And he said that the hydration, the bowl lathering, I assume that it's because just the extra hydration he was easily able to put into his lathers. Now he just doesn't have that problem anymore. And he is and so I would assume that his, comfort and his enjoyment of all manner of soaps is just increasing. So that was a really good word. And there we go. It's kind of got some vocality to it. I assume you can hear it kind of scraping as well. So this particular combo is one that is a little on the scrapey side, but it's not uncomfortable. I've got no irritation, no tenderness at all. All right, so that is the, I think that was the second pass. Yep. And look, the soap usage looks pretty good. I don't have, I'm not just wallowing in tons of soap, but I feel like I've got plenty to do the job. I've loaded up my brush for the third pass, and I still have a little bit of margin. That's kind of what I like right there. Now, my intention was to load a little bit less than a 1/4 teaspoon, and I believe that might be the magic number for me and this brush with Milksteak. I don't know if the brush is getting a little more relaxed, or if it's me just learning not to try to splay it quite so much. I don't know. But it is being a little bit more enjoyable than it was earlier. Wonderfully slick performance today from the soap. The scent is mild. As I think back, I'm not really remembering too much about it, so I better get a nose full right now, right? It is mild soap. That is one of the disadvantages of being a person who likes it hydrated as much as I do. I often use 1/3 as much soap as other guys. And if the makers realize so many people are overloading and they configure the scent concentration for them, then it ends up kind of weak for me. I think that's kind of happening a lot for me and people like me. So there really have to be stronger soaps for me to get good. So this is unfortunately a little too weak for me to think about getting. I'm really almost not even smelling it when it's right now. No, I'm picking it up, but it's very faint. It's maybe a 2 or a 3 out of 10, which is not bad. If it would still be a little bit enjoyable. It would be enjoyable if I was stuck somewhere with this scent, because it is obviously good performance. I like that with the Milksteak. And the scent is a hint of something. And then, of course, I can always get something more if I stick my nose in the bowl. And so I'd be absolutely fine if I, if I was vacationing somewhere for a couple of months and I had this soap and that's all I could use. I'd enjoy it. There is something familiar in there. I could see how he might have stumbled across this and gone, wait a minute, that's kind of a classic powdery type scent with little other bits in there. I can definitely picture him with that revelation, and then maybe tweaking it a little bit just to fine tune it, and then bam, he's got his new barbershop, because his original barbershop was called Bandwagon. And Scott at Declaration just likes to do tongue-in-cheek names like that. He called it Bandwagon because everybody else was doing barbershops, and so he finally jumped on the bandwagon and did a barbershop too. So that's why it's got that name. All right. Let's shave this last pass off. Of course, we don't have as much. And you see the hydration level, and that's really maybe an ultimate test of your hydration, is when you get it this much lather on your razor and it drips off. Might be one of the easier. Of course, it's a test that you have to do after the fact. Notice right here, it's actually very transparent. But like I've always said, all it matters is a tiny little film on your face. Protects, gives that glide, that's all you need. And there we go. I can extract a little bit from my goatee if I want to see if maybe I can pick up a few little spare guys. There we go. Rinse it off. I wish it were stronger scented. And the reason is because I think that this blend is so well done that I want to be able to appreciate it more. It is softly masculine, and it is masculine. It's not feminine at all. I think I picked up some florals in there, but they are partnered with other elements in such that it just changes the parts into something new and different. And I really like it. It's subtle, but it's the kind of scent that you could use for a few days and pick out different things each day, maybe. I really, and I think that's sometimes what the barbershops do for me. They don't bowl me over. They don't have so much character, and they're not chiseled face Midnight Stag or Sterling's Barbershop. It's got a lot of intensity and kind of a spicy, warm type area that's easy for me to gravitate towards. But this one, by the end of the shave, I was really liking it. And that kind of happened to me with American Blend from Fine Accoutrements, kind of the same way. So I really like this soap. And so what I may do is just keep a lookout on it on the used market. Somebody uses up half a tub and wants to sell it. Yeah, maybe then I'd pick it up. But I definitely got more impressed with it as the shave went on. Especially at the end when I finally realized you're through the shave and you haven't really talked about the scent very much. You're not remembering about it. So let's think about it for a second. Now, speaking about fine accoutrements, let's do a little PSA. It was revealed that a company in Italy is doing the new crope that they are coming out with because their classic hard pucks had to no longer be produced. The factory closed down that what made them. And so they turned to an Italian soft crope maker. And it's the folks who do Goodfellas Smile. I don't remember the Italian name. I don't speak Italian, and so those kind of things are harder for me to remember. But I believe it's Goodfellas Smile that is one of the brands that is made by this company. And it looks like, I think somebody may have mentioned that $22 or something like that is going to be the cost of a 5-ounce tub of it to your typical American person. And maybe that's true, maybe that's not. It's hearsay at this point, but it might be a little more expensive than some of the other cropes out there. So we'll just have to see. I didn't really like their artwork, how they put this, look like it's bad font saying 21st century. You know, I've always loved Fine's kind of vintage styling to their products. And then they bring in that text, and it almost makes me not want to get any of those tubs. It really does. But I do plan on, trying that soap at some point. But I'm not in a hurry because it's a crope, and we've got a market full of cropes. So many cropes, and that's the thing, so many good cropes, so many really good cropes. I'm kind of glad it's not TFS that was making, is the Italian maker who was going to be making it, because even though I really like TFS soaps, they're just not quite up to par. They're not as high as I wanted Fine's new soap base to be. So I'm glad that it's not them. But that'll be interesting to see. And it looks like he's got some, oh yeah, that's right, like Santal Absolute maybe, and a couple of other scents were not going to be made anymore in the new base. So that is unfortunate. You don't mind sometimes when they switch to a new base if they carry over all your favorite fragrances, right? But I think they're going to lose some. You might be able to still find some classic pucks out there. So if you are concerned, get out there. Number one, just do some Googling and find out. I think maybe the Badger and Blade shaving forum is where most of my information is coming from. There's a thread there that said like fine soaps are being discontinued or something like that. And it's quite long as people keep adding on to it. And I think that's where a lot of this information is coming from. But you should find out which ones they're discontinuing, which ones they're not, because you might be able to find them on a few other retailers as everybody is selling out of their stock. All right, so a little update there. That is not TFS, but it's another Italian maker. And today's shave, I kind of thought that the black was going to do better than that. But I've got a nice close shave, so at least there's that. But I thought it would be a little bit more comfortable. I thought it wouldn't be quite so chattery as, especially in that first and second passes. I kind of expected it to be a little different. But no irritation, anything like that. So I think we did get a full rinse. So let's try out this skin bracer. This could be a good or bad thing if you want to like skin bracer, because it could remind somebody of their granddad or their father in a bad way. Of course, it could remind them of them in a good way. Make them feel all warm and protected and comfy and happy. Who knows? Scents are funny things, right? So we'll just see how that... I'm getting a little bit in my eyes, so it must have a little bit of menthol in it. This is back when you did not have to put the ingredients on products. Haha. It's refreshing and invigorating. It helps heal shaving nicks and scrapes. It moisturizes and tones up your skin. Oh yeah, menthol iced skin bracer cools rather than burns. Well, I think a lot of guys that would agree with that, but with me, most of the time menthol is more of a burning sensation. And it is starting to do that now, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I'll see how things go. See if I want to keep it around or pass it along. All right. Well, that's today's shave. The soap was softly masculine and powdery. Scott also characterized it as inoffensive, and I would agree with that for sure. And it does fit his personal concept of what a barbershop really should be. That's really cool. I like that because it's an extension of his person in that case. Is not just something he's putting out there. Very good. Very good. So the black does perform a little smoother on other razors, but in this one, it's okay because it's not super comfy at first, but you do get a great result from it, and the third pass is very smooth. So happy with that. I'm going to keep trying blades in this razor, this really mild head of the Wolfman, to see if I can find a good combination that just makes you all happy. You know what I mean? And I believe you've got all the info. A little bit less than a quarter teaspoon. 3.5 teaspoons of water used. The brush may be relaxing a little bit. Let's hope that continues. And I think that's today's shave. This scent I'm going to have to see. I'm going to have to exist in it for a while, this skin bracer, to see if I like it or not. I'm definitely having some memory flashbacks a little bit. All right, well that's it. I sure hope that this shave has had something in it to help you out with your whole shaving journey. And I'm grateful to that other user who contacted me and let me know that he was helped. And that's kind of my goal. And I really am glad about that. There are lots of guys out there doing different styles, and this is a subjective hobby. And it's great when you can find somebody with the style that matches up with maybe what you need, like it was in his case. He's sensitive. He needed something to where the soap wasn't so caustic to his skin, and he found that. But if you need something else, then find one of those face lathering guys or overloading guys. That may be you. That might match up with what you need. So find what works for you and stick with it and enjoy it. Try some other stuff every once in a while just to see if maybe there's something better out there. Every once in a while I try face lathering. And you try other stuff every once in a while, but just enjoy yourself. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care and stay safe.